Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're kind of doing a combo of things today on Saturday Live. There's a few things I want to cover, and I feel this is the way to do it. So first off, Mark Hamill yet again has talked down on the sequel trilogy, um, which is really cool. That I thought this guy kind of sold himself out, and he signed contracts with them and everything because he said some things, I think earlier this year in the summer, that was like, oh, I didn't really understand, and then now Ryan Johnson and I had to create this story in my head, and I really understand Ryan Johnson's vision, and this whole, like, stupid thing, right, that he just went on forever. But now, he has kind of gone back a little bit, and is questioning the sequels as a whole. This is not just The Last Jedi. He is questioning it as a whole. So I'm going to read the quote. "The reason I did Mandalorian was that Luke had a beginning and an end. There was no middle. It was like making a trilogy about James Bond as a young boy who first became aware of the Secret Service and wanted to be a part of it. Part 2 was him training to be an agent. Part 3 is earning his license to kill. The end. No From Russia with Love, no Dr. No, and no Goldfinger. You never got to see Luke as a Master Jedi at the peak of his powers. He was the most idealistic character in that series. He was someone who would take adversity and double down and come back and counter his setbacks. We didn't see any of that. So when I got the chance, I thought, geez, this is wonderful. I think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, boy, do they get Star Wars. They get it. They're speaking the same language that George did, and, in a way, the, problems that I questioned in the sequels. So that's really cool. So they're speaking the same language that George did in a way that I questioned in the sequels. So right there, that's saying, he questioned the language that the sequels spoke, and he questioned that, were they really Star Wars? Did they really connect to the way George did things? And it made him think, and it made him question them. And here he's saying that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni really get it, and they know what they're doing. Now, obviously with the Mando Season 1 and 2, that's absolutely the case. So for the projects that he was a part of with them, absolutely, you could see that way. That's how we all felt when that came out. We were like, they really understand kind of what the deal is. But obviously later on, this is less Jon Favreau and more Dave Filoni. There were a lot of really weird things in Ahsoka that just didn't work. And Mando Season 3 was a disaster. That wasn't even either of them. That was Kathy. So it's just like now, I don't know about them as much anymore, like I've said. But, it's cool to see that he's at least still not totally bought off by Disney, and he will, say things against it occasionally. Yeah. But, it's just so weird. He's confusing because this is the same guy who said in June, and I have that right here, "I've heard comments from fans who think that I somehow dislike Ryan Johnson, and nothing could be further from the truth. I'm going to do everything within my power to make it right." So it's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? So first you say that this guy has no idea what he's doing, and then you go on multiple, like, videos and interviews online saying that you don't like the way this is going. It's not going to go the way you think. That's just famous Mark Hamill quote. He'd say, this is not going to go the way you think. He does all that. He speaks about it more. Disney gets on his ass. And then all of a sudden he switches and he's like, I have nothing against Ryan Johnson. I have nothing against The Last Jedi. Oh, this, and that, and the other. I totally understand his vision now. And then now he's flipped back to, I questioned the sequels, so it's like, what is this guy, bro? Like, he just is switching sides constantly. I don't understand. But he, deep in his heart, clearly, he doesn't like those movies. It's just he's having to say things and talk about things in a certain way because Disney is, his employer, and he was part of projects, and they made him sign things. It's the same shit that every other celebrity or famous influencer or even just as simple as being a Star Wars what's it called? Like content advertising person. They all have contracts signed with their name on it, with their signature on it. And if they speak against it, then they're in huge legal trouble. If they speak against it, then they get cut from whatever deal they're in right now. So I mean, this is just the problem with having those kinds of deals and contracts, and it's just all shady shit to keep your mouth shut. That's the problem. Like when you're employed at a big corporation or a big movie studio, then yeah, you can't go online and absolutely decimate it if it's horrible. Why? Because you work for that company and you're swaying people away from watching that project or whatever. So it's like that's just kind of how things are, unfortunately, and people just don't like when people speak their minds, and it's a really big problem, honestly. It's like it's an issue. Like it's a societal issue that we're having to cater to specific people, and cater to specific audiences and cater to companies, and when we work for someone, that means that we have to be 100% loyal to that someone. It's just a big issue all around, and that needs to change. We should be able to criticize our employer or criticize whatever if we feel like it. Why? Because that's A, free speech, and B, just morally right. You can't devote yourself to a person, like they're a person or a group of people, like that just isn't, that doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work. So, I just think it's a massive issue in general, and that something needs to be done. Not something needs to be done, but like we as a society need to move forward and start just speaking our minds, regardless of what other people think. We're at a stage where, if I were a Lucasfilm affiliate, I'd be in the deepest of deep shit, right now, because I've talked so much crap on all the trash that they've made, but I've also, ignore the flip side, which is I've also praised things they've done. I've praised Solo, a Star Wars story. I've praised Andor. I've praised Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I've praised the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, right? I praised Tales of the Jedi. Like, I give praise to the things that deserve it, and I trash talk the things that deserve it. I'm balanced and I'm fair, but unfortunately, that is not how the world works anymore. You need to be all in or all out, and you can't be in the middle. You can't just be a human anymore. You have to be an automaton for whoever your employer is, whoever your boss is, whoever is controlling your paycheck, then they own you, right? Like, if I worked for some corporation, I couldn't say anything against them, right? Because if I do, then they're going to pull me in and say, hey, you can't say that, right? So it's like, this is just how it works. And I am trying to be a big push and shove against that, in general. And I'm trying to really be true to my mind and myself and being honest and pure. That's a big thing with what Theory does in Star Wars, is he's never just going to walk up and say, oh, this is amazing, this is great, when it's the biggest pile of shit he's ever seen, right? I mean, then you exit the Star Wars fandom and you have like political commentators who just give their raw, honest thoughts and then get attacked, and then or in recent events killed, and then you have just everyday folk who work for a company and they rant to their friend about how something's bullshit, then that friend tells the company and then it's game over and they're fired, right? It's like, it's beyond just an an issue. It's beyond just an issue. It is a massive problem. It is a massive problem with honesty, and it's really pushing deceit. It's pushing lies, and it's pushing, yet again, an agenda onto the vast majority of not just Americans, but people across the world. This isn't just an American issue. It's an issue in Europe. It's an issue in China, obviously, North Korea, Russia. You have to cater to people, and that doesn't work. And the people who are blasphemed the most, the people who are trash talked the most, are the most pure, honest people. And that's just the truth. The people that the mainstream media hate, the people that the majority hates, all those people are the ones who just are true to themselves. And they don't like that. And they're like, we need to shut you down because you think differently. That's how people have been with me. That's how people are with my friends in the fandom. That's how people are with, specific political people that I watch sometimes. It's just like, if they speak the wrong thing, then they're done. And it's like that has to stop. Or maybe not even be done and not canceled or whatever, but at least like made up, get fake allegations or made up this and that and the other thing. It's like, it's so stupid. It really is dumb. Because I remember back in the day when Star Wars Explained tried to cancel and get rid of Ryan Kinnell, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic. Like, they just attacked them. And then they attacked Theory. Not on the same level, I don't think, but they still attacked him, for promoting hatred and racism and bigotry. And it's like, and where did that go? Nowhere. Because it's just wrong, and it's illegal for you to attack someone who thinks differently than you. It's like, speak your opinion. Dislike the other person even if you dislike them. But don't go attack them and try to ruin their career because they have a different view than you. Obviously, if you're being attacked, then then that person has issues, right? But like, it's very complicated, but it's just, I guess, not really complicated, but yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue. Like, the only reason I ever down talk Carly King and Star Wars Explained and Luke's lightsabers is because they're just awful to everybody. They are awful, and awful people need to be dealt with in a way. Am I going to go make up fake allegations about them? No, I'm not. But am I going to tell you that, hey, these people are snakes? Yeah, I am. Even when they pretend like they're the most innocent people who never give their opinions on Star Wars, and they're only just spewing you mindless, stupid information that you can look up on Google, it's like, okay, sure. But they secretly are owned. They are all bought out by Lucasfilm. They are all bought out, and bought out by Disney Lucasfilm. This isn't, if George wouldn't care if you said you didn't like something, but Disney, they're like, oh, our profits might drop by 0.0000000%. And now, what are we going to do? And then they're like, all right, cancel him. Tell him he's a liar, blah, blah, blah. That's what they do, but welcome to the world in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the world. Shitty place. Shitty place. Still some good things. The true good in the world doesn't go away, but there is a lot of shitty things now, unfortunately. There always is, but especially now. My God. It's just day to day. You just see things that you're like, what the fuck, dude? 10 years ago, that wouldn't be an issue. Or 10 years ago, I could have said that and it would have been okay because there's nothing wrong with what I said. Or, it's like all those things are fucking ridiculous. Anyways, on to our next thing. So, Andor won 5 Emmys at the Emmy Awards, which is insane. For a Star Wars project to win those high-profile awards, that never happens. Ever happens. And I'm really glad it did here, which is, it's really cool. So, it won for Best Writing, Dan Gilroy, Welcome to the Rebellion, which is the episode with Mon Mothma's big speech. Winner for Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes for the episode Harvest. Winner Outstanding Production Design for a Narrative Period or Fantasy Program, 1 hour or more, for the episode Who Are You?, which I believe is the Gorman Massacre episode. Winner for Outstanding Picture Editing for a Drama Series, Who Are You? Winner for Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a season or a movie for the whole season, for Andor Season 2. And then outside of Andor, not only did Andor win, but Music by John Williams won for Outstanding Sound Editing for a Nonfiction or Reality Program. This is literally, because I know also The Penguin, which was an incredible series, won a ton of stuff too. This is the only Matrix, big awards, Hollywood award ceremony that I feel was actually like gave credit to the shows and projects that deserved it. You know, like I haven't seen true honesty like this in an awards ceremony in a very long time. A very long time. Yeah, I mean, it's a Star Wars thing winning, like that's just incredible because there's this hatred in Hollywood for anything that isn't, you know, with filled to the brim with their agendas, you know, and Star Wars isn't that, so, and Marvel isn't that, so they always get attacked and demeaned and not called art and lowered on a scale, and, you know, and DC's the same thing. DC's the most attacked out of any of them, and I mean, it's like, it's crazy, you know, all of those things are just totally regarded as other, you know, while the French movie no one gives a fucking a half about wins all the awards, you know, because why? So many things I would go into but won't. But yeah, that's really cool. What else? Oh yeah, Star Wars Starfighter started filming in August 28th. It started filming. I don't know if I've talked about that yet, but that is in production, which is really cool because most of those projects that they announce just get canceled. They go nowhere. They announce them, people get excited, and then they cancel, and it's done. But this one, they're actually in production and they're shooting, which is really good to hear. And I'm glad. You know, I'll always be excited for a Star Wars project that is totally new, unheard of. You know, like, that's always really exciting to me because it's like, I don't know what this is, what it could be. You know, it's not attached to Rey or, you know, any of that shit. It's not attached to the Acolyte. You know, it's not attached to stupid characters. It's just a 100% original, brand new thing in Star Wars. And that is really exciting because, you know, if you announce like a Rey movie or a whatever, Acolyte Season 2, then I already know it's going to suck because it's a part of a terrible story, you know? So it's like, why do I want more to this terrible story? But, you know, no matter what time of Star Wars we're in, how good Lucasfilm's being, if we get a brand new Star Wars story, you know, announced, I'm always going to be excited because it's Star Wars, you know, and there's nothing to not be excited for about that. Call me optimistic, you know, we've been through shit, you know, and I'm still here, but, you know, it's one image, and it looks like Star Wars, and this is how you know your shit, okay, and I should have shared my screen on this, but I'm an idiot, so I'm doing it the old man way. Oh, look at my computer, Danny. Yeah, so we have the pipes here, which shows that, and the oil spill, which shows the, like, you know, rusted, old, used look that Star Wars has, which gives Star Wars its whole aesthetic. So that's great. Here we have, like, some symbol. It looks like of some faction or company or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of factory, right? So that gives, like, a Star Wars-y vibe. Maybe it's, I don't know. We have a speeder here, nothing touching the ground. It looks kind of used. I don't know if there's slight details. It looks kind of used. It's like not super high-tech futuristic. Then you have Ryan Gosling in a really cool detailed trench coat with all these different things on it. You know, it's not just one solid piece of clothing. You know, there's all these aspects to it. And there's this other kid here who's probably like, I don't know, his like, not apprentice because he's not a Jedi, but you know, his partner. And that's always a thing in Star Wars, is there's always like partners in this and that. And then here, if you look off into the corner, this is one of my favorite parts of the image. Right there, that's all like wiring and not wiring, but like piping and circuitry and whatever over in this corner too. Which shows the way that Star Wars is kind of real. It's physical, you know? It's not like Star Trek where you're like, beam me up, Scotty, or whatever, and they like do the thing and teleport them. Everything in Star Wars is explainable. It makes sense. It's real. Not like realistic, but realistic to its world, to its universe, you know? And it is understandable. The physical elements are understandable. Obviously, the Force is the Force, and it's meant to be mysterious, but in terms of making something work, you can always figure out how it works within the confines of the Star Wars universe, you know, and you're not like, what's it called, you know, zipping through, what's the thing, and I think it's in like, oh yeah, it's in Guardians of the Galaxy where they just like open space up and then they go through, it's like, what the fuck, you know, but in Star Wars, it's like, okay, so we're not teleporting here. We are just going at an extraordinarily fast speed through space where all the stars and planets and everything are a blur around us. That's all hyperspace is. Hyperspace. Very fast. Hyper is fast. Intense. Going, you know? Hyper through space. Light speed. Right? These are all the things, you know, it makes sense. Or there's a bunch of books you can read on how the TIE Fighter flies. Twin ion engines. How do those ion engines work? You can read into that. How do blasters work? It's not just some magical laser. It's super heated up gas that's fired out of a gas canister. That's all a blaster is. It's not a laser. There are lasers in Star Wars. For example, on the Venator in Revenge that shoots down at the Separatist ship and it blows up. And, you know, one of the pieces of debris is a sink in the opening of Revenge. That is a laser. You know, that is very evidently a laser. And, what else would be a laser in Star Wars? The Death Star, beam. That's a laser. Yeah, but like the lightsaber isn't a laser. That's the essence of a lightsaber is so mysterious, honestly, and I think it's really cool because there's no clear definition, right? Because it's the power that's stored within the kyber crystal, and all the circuitry and electronic work is figuring out how to transfer that power out. That's all it's doing. You know, but the essence of the material of the blade, what the blade is, it's not plasma, it's not it's not explainable. It is just, it's magic. You know, it comes from these crystals, right? It's so cool. It's really cool. The lightsaber. I mean, it's just a fucking prop. But like, it's so intricate, you know, and it's like the way that it works, it's not super clear, which is what I like about it. And you know, you can dilate on some sabers if you choose. There's things you can dilate, and what does that do? That just messes with the crystal or puts things over the crystal. The heart of the lightsaber is the kyber crystal, you know. Same thing with the Death Star, you know. Like, I don't know, because let's look this up. I think because that also comes from kyber. Oh yeah, because they use focus beams and the beams come together. So yeah, It is a laser-based weapon, but they do use kyber crystals to power it. So then maybe that's like, is that kind of the same thing as a saber? But not really, because it's super powerful. It can blow up a fucking planet, you know? So, yeah, but, you know, but the lightsaber is not a laser. It's, yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah, and it's like I look it up here, and there's no definition to it. You know, there's like, they're called laser swords, but you know, it's like it's not plasma, it's not laser. You know, it's just it's some kind of dense fucking, I don't know, right? Because what does that have to do, right? Because I know I used to like, Star Trek, just beam me up, Scotty, but lightsabers have to do with the Jedi, they have to do with the Force, and they connect back to the spiritual side of Star Wars. You know, it's not like, if a blaster was just some laser that had infinite, you know, like, that's dumb. But no, it has a canister, and the canister lasts a really long time, but eventually it does run out. It's just, you know, to run out of a blaster canister, it's like filling up your car with gas. You know, it's the same thing, really. But, you know, gas is not really, it's liquid, it's not a gas, but you know what I mean. With gasoline, you know, it's the same thing. It lasts a very long time before you have to replace it. It's not like you're dropping a mag, you know. It's like, that's not what it is, you know. It's not what it is. It's not infinite, but it's not, you know, limited. It's long lasting. Yeah, so, yeah, sabers are, I'm very curious if there's actually like a, yeah, no, there isn't. It's just the kyber crystal powers the blade. That's what it is. It's all the blade is the power conducted outside of the kyber crystal. And it shows how powerful those things are. You know, it really does show. And how, you know, we see in canon, we do see Vader, you know, bleed the crystal, and how it just makes this massive explosion. It's this crazy thing, right? Because that's how powerful they are. The power of a kyber crystal is unmatchable. I mean, that's why they use them for the Death Star. How else are you going to blow up a planet, right? You can't use gas to blow, like, that doesn't make sense, right, when you think about it. So you need the kyber crystal to blow up the planet, because it's the most powerful kind of laser thing in Star Wars. But yeah, you know, you hear you know, characters in Star Wars call it a laser sword, because that's what, you know, if you were in the galaxy and you weren't a Jedi and you weren't, you know, whatever, Force user, you weren't familiar with lightsabers, then to you it is probably just a laser sword. You know, you're like, it can't be gas. Gas doesn't do that. Gas isn't that dense, you know, so you're like, oh, it's probably some kind of laser, right? So it's like, I don't know, man, but yeah, interesting. But these are the things that make Star Wars so unique, is it's so not grounded, but I wouldn't even say, it's grounded. It feels raw and real and physical, compared to when you watch like I don't know, even like Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Trek or Marvel stuff. You know, those things, they just feel so fantastical that they couldn't possibly be real. But then you look at this and it's like, we're seeing how the motors work. We're seeing how, you know, the saber goes. You know, there's even a physical way to define how powerful someone is with the Force through midichlorians, and then that connects back to spirituality, right? So it's like, these are the things that I feel like that's what makes something Star Wars visually and atmospherically, is things have to look physical, gritty, and real. That's really what it is. That's why there were moments, and what was it? It was in, I think, Andor. God, I don't watch Disney Star Wars stuff anymore, obviously, but in something where it was just so, like, perfect, and I'm like, this doesn't work. No, it was it the Acolyte? Yeah, it was the Acolyte, I think, where their ships were so pristine. I was like, what the fuck? Like, they look like Star Trek ships, and they're ugly, and I'm like, okay, this just doesn't work for me, man. Even in the prequels, when everything's supposed to be pristine and handmade, hand-painted, whatever, it still looks physical. For example, let's look up the Naboo N1 Starfighter, which I think is the greatest example of things looking handmade and gorgeous and amazing, right? Like, look at this. Oh god, that image is so shitty. Load, bitch. I don't know what's going on, but that's good enough picture. Compared to, let's say, an X-Wing. Right? So, like, this is the X-Wing. And this is the N1. Like, do you see the difference? Like, it's shiny. It's, like, the engines are all, it's... And this one, like, you can see all the grooves and marks and every little thing that was, what's it called? Holy shit, I'm an idiot. Welded on there. You can see all the weld marks, but this, it's, like, very constructed well. But it doesn't use magical fucking parts. It doesn't. It does not use magical parts. It's still all very, very physical, all very, very real. I don't know why all my images are so crappy in quality right now, but, like, you could see how all that works. There's no magical thing in there, it's all physical stuff. Or even, like, inside, like, N1 cockpit, right? Like, you can see all the buttons and things and levers and meters and, right? Like, you can see all the details and you can see how it works. It's not like, I push one button to take off and I steer away. It's like, no. You have to push this and transfer the power here and watch your shields here and watch. It operates like a jet, essentially. It operates like a modern. This is one of Star Wars' strengths. Is that what it is? It's a mirror of things in our world with a different, like, texture pack, if that makes sense to you. Like, that's really what Star Wars is. Obviously, there's things like droids and lightsabers and I don't know, like, there's stuff like that that's, like, obviously not, or hyperspace, none of that that's not in our world. But in the sense of having a Navi computer and transferring power and transferring fuel and all that stuff in a plane is also in Star Wars, and vice versa. All that stuff in Star Wars is in a plane. So it's, like, transferable. Why? Because they used World War II plane stuff to help construct, the models for all the ships and everything. So it's like, it was based off of that, and it mirrors it. And one of the only things I liked about Last Jedi, probably, what do I always say? I say the music, Kylo Ren, I think that's it. And then, one of my favorite things is such a stupid little detail, but in those bombers that fly around, what are they called? I don't even know. Fortress something bomber. Yeah, the MG-100 Star Fortress. Yeah, that's right. These things, right here, the resistance bomber things, they have a ventral ball turret in the bottom of them. Okay, seriously with this, bro, I'm gonna crash out. What the fuck? It's my Wi-Fi's fine. What the fuck? My God, why does this do this to me? Fucking shit, dick. You can see it in fucking 1p, in 10p down here. But the ventral ball turret, that was actually a thing in World War II. Now I'll pull that up. World War II ball turret. And you know where that was? On a bomber. Like, this stuff is so intentional, you know, but it looks like exactly the same. What, like, exactly the same. I've seen one in person too, and it's like, that's the one from World War II, and then that's the one from The Last Jedi. It's the exact same thing. And, you know, that was one thing I thought was really cool, and it did adhere to George's vision of what what Star Wars should look like, you know, and that very much is like, you know, that's the one thing about the sequels is, you know, what I will say is it does look like Star Wars. Like when you I haven't seen them in years, but you know, the few times I've seen those movies, it still it looks like Star Wars. Does it feel like Star Wars? No. But does it look like Star Wars? Yes. And I think that's the reason why, you know, I'm okay with Galaxy's Edge being in that time period, because it still looks like Star Wars. It just looks like a more advanced version of the original trilogy, and that's cool. It's just higher tech versions of stuff we've already seen, right? So it's like, I know George, that's why one of the main reasons he hated Force Awakens is he's like, we've seen all this before, and I'm like, I know, but you know, they were like, I need money, so they did that, and still, like, it looks like Star Wars because it is an X-Wing. It is a TIE fighter. You know, it does look rusted and old, and, you know, even the Imperial stuff that is factory made still looks hand carved, and, you know, you could see all the things in it, right? But that's really important to Star Wars. You can never have something that's just like sleek. You know, like, oh God, I don't even want this shit in my history. I don't want this shit in my history. The Acolyte, ship, the starship thing. I don't fucking know. Yeah, see, this bullshit. This is what I'm talking about. This is not Star Wars, bro. Like, would you look at that and go, oh, that's Star Wars? That's not Star Wars. Like, it looks like something out of, like, Starfield or Halo, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not Star Wars. It's so sleek, and it's ugly. It doesn't look good. Or like, this shit. Like, look at this. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's not Star Wars, bro. Or this. What is this? Like, my God, it's ugly. It's ugly. It's gross. Oh, this is the worst one. This one is awful. I think it's the same ship I showed you earlier. That is not a Star Wars ship. If you showed that to me as a kid and said, what franchise is that from? I probably would have said, like, I don't know. I don't know what I would have said. I would not have said Star Wars. You know, but like that shit is not Star Wars. I tell you what. Oh my God. Disappointing as fuck. Ridiculous, dude. What a shit show. That show was so bad. Oh my God, that show was horrible. Disgusting ass show. Fucking disgusting. Yeah, but like, they can't even get the visuals right. They can't even get the visuals right anymore. And it's degraded from the sequels. Honestly, to be honest with you, it's gotten worse in terms of visual looks. It has gotten so much worse. The sequels look more like Star Wars than The Acolyte, look more like Star Wars than Andor, look more like Star Wars than the Obi-Wan show. Like, it's ridiculous. It's honestly, it's ridiculous. Like, we're at a point now where the sequel trilogy looks more like Star Wars than it's like, what are we doing? Oh my god! But it's true, and it's not debatable. You know, I mean, I just proved it right there with the whole World War II ball gunner, and you know, it just is. It is, and that was a new ship too. They made that for the Last Jedi. You know, and it's like, you know, yeah. I don't think people even have the audacity to argue that, because like that's just stupid to be like Obi-Wan Kenobi looks better than the sequels, or the Acolyte looks better than the sequels. All the people who just love everything else but the sequels. I'm like, actually, there's been worse. Things worse than the sequels in terms of visuals, to be honest with you. Or sets, or props, or costumes, you know? But, yeah, like, dude, I remember, this is another example of this. I saw a picture of the priest who baptized or confirmed my father. I saw a picture of him, and I deadass thought it was Obi-Wan Kenobi. The robes, he had a literal brown robe, the haircut. I was like, what the fuck? Did you have Obi-Wan? And then I looked it up more, and I'm like, oh, that's just what they wear, right? It's so cool. And you know, and it's like, it shows, again, it's mirroring our world in another universe, right? That's the whole thing. That's what Star Wars is. It's like a sci-fi render of our world with some extra really cool things added on so that we are taken out of our world. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's the whole thing that I've said a million times where it's like familiar but really different. You know, it's like, it's really different with this tinge of familiarity. And I think that's what makes Star Wars feel so cozy, is like, you can kind of see things that go, oh, that must work this way, or oh, this must work that way, or oh, this planet looks like that place. You know, it's like, it has that sense of familiarity to it where, God, I'm just dogging Star Trek right now, but Star Trek doesn't have that. You know, it just feels so like you can't connect to Star Trek because it's just not, there's nothing in it that like can even nearly relate to, you know, your world. It just doesn't work. You know, like, look, here's a great example. Right? Like, they're all just wearing flat, dull, boring outfits. They're on a super squeaky clean ship or wherever they are. You know, it's like, it doesn't work. This just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. And it's so boring. It's so boring. My God. I mean, look at this. Like, look how clean everything is and perfect everything is. You know, that's like, that's the Star Trek aesthetic. So when they try to put that, or even look at the ships, when they try to put that in Star Wars, it's like, no. Wrong brand, wrong franchise. That's not how Star Wars works. Or will ever work, because when they do it, you're not going to sell toys of those Acolyte ships like George sold millions and millions and millions of toys and pictures and art pieces of the Millennium Falcon. You're not. Why? Because that's just not Star Wars. When someone wants to buy a Star Wars thing, they're not going to buy the stupid Acolyte ship that looks nothing like Star Wars. They're not. I mean, it's as simple as that. It really is, you know. And if you fought, like, it's the same bullshit in a different way. Same shit that I've said a million times. When you watch Star Wars more than once in your life, you will be able to catch on to these things, and it is very easy to just adhere to George's vision. But no one does. Why? Because they don't care about Star Wars. They haven't seen about Star Wars. Haven't seen Star Wars whatsoever. And then they're paid by Disney to make it. So it's like, of course, then they're just going to do what they want. They don't care. They have no connection, right? And that's really the issue, is when you hire people who don't care about Star Wars, they're not going to make Star Wars. And it's common sense, really, but that is that. Okay, we're running a little long. Is there anything left I want to go through? The future, right. I'm going to adjust this. It kind of tilted down. So the next video, I've been looking for some kind of idea to do another one of the book reads, the Star Wars book reads, where we read a part of it and then I talk about it and explain it and its significance and whatever. They do really well, actually. Like my, let me see which one. I think it was my Attack of the Clones one where I covered the Tusken slaughter, and I heard people in person tell me that they thought that was really cool. They really enjoyed that one. Where is it? It's a while ago. I think that was near the beginning of the reboot. Yeah, The Fury of Anakin. That one did really well. I did another one somewhere. I did a couple of them, I know. Shit, where is it? I don't know. Oh yeah, the most emotional duel in Star Wars, where I covered the duel in Return of the Jedi. That one did really well. Yeah, like all of those things kind of just do well for some reason. I don't know, y'all like them, so I will continue with that. But I'm going to be doing a poll on my Instagram, Saudi Video Instagram. I'm going to have you guys pick one Star Wars movie out of these three options to read an excerpt from. So you have Star Wars, Empire, or Jedi. Pick one, I don't care, and then I will pick the thing in it to talk about. Because you see all kinds of, really why I'm doing original trilogy right now is because you see so much of like prequel analysis and breakdown and whatever online, but you don't see a lot of it with the original trilogy. And I want to highlight that those things also exist in the original trilogy too. And it's like, yeah, the originals might just seem old and iconic to you, and that's the limit of its existence, but there is more to it than you think, and they're just as cool as the prequels are. So that's really why. So pick one of the three, and next video will be that. So see you guys in the next one. Leave a like, subscribe, share, and may the force be with you always. Goodbye.